really see if we could make the webinar today interactive. Um, and so I would really appreciate your comments and questions as we go along. I think I'm going to have room for us to have a good deal of time to be interactive. I think that works best, to help you with your questions and your thoughts about the principles. Anyhow, so today I wanted to, the topic is to talk about the spiritual nature of human experience. And, you know, um, gosh, I was prepping for this webinar, and things are changing all the time about where I want to go with you today, what I want to focus on. But um, yeah, so I'm just going to let the feeling for it, the intelligence, guide me through this. Um, about 6 years ago, in 2008, about 2008, I was asked to do a talk on the principles to a large association of psychologists, and and Jan Chipman suggested I ask Sydney Banks if he'd like to join that, and I did. I called Sydney, and he did want to be a part of that. So we worked up a way for him to come in and present for about an hour of the 3-hour class I did. But it's interesting. What he said to me about the class was, he said to me, tell them it's spiritual. And I didn't know what that meant. I mean, I've been talking about the principles, 31 years, but I didn't know what he meant, and I didn't ask. And I've been reflecting on that ever since. I mean, when I went to the class, I talked about the principles and pointed the psychologists toward the principles. And it was a very powerful class. I mean, many of them came up at the end with tears in their eyes. They had been so touched. But I wanted to speak to that with you today. Us being three principles practitioners, about pointing to the spiritual. What does that mean? What's that about, and how is that helpful? I think it's helpful for these psychologists and people in the field who are therapists or counselors, in that the field is all in the form. I'm not talking about anything wrong here. I'm just saying that the field is really in the form, and it's in the brain now. There's a lot about the brain and different structures in the brain that are responsible for emotions, your experience of life. And the beautiful insight and spiritual understanding that Sydney Banks had helps us see there's something more to us than that. And helps us see that there's really one thing we need to realize, and that is that all experience is a manifestation of the principles of mind, thought, and consciousness. That we are really a formless energy, and from that energy, that spiritual energy, we create moment-to-moment experience of life. We create our emotions, we create our behavior, we create our thinking, all through those principles. And it's, in a way, it's that simple. When you look out into the form, as you can see in your own experience of your development, when you look out in the form, you have so many explanations for why you feel the way you do, or think the way you do, or have the experiences you're having. And it's confusing to human beings. It really is. Not that, again, there's anything wrong with that. It's been helpful to a lot of people, but the truth of the matter is there's something that is before all of our thinking and emotions, and that is these principles of mind, thought, and consciousness. So as practitioners of the three principles, that's our job. I mean, really, it's simple. helping our coaching clients, our counseling clients, our clinical clients, our, whatever field we're in, have a realization about where the experience they're having in life comes from, the truth of it, really. And we've been blessed in our time to be able to see that the experience we're having moment to moment comes from mind, thought, and consciousness. Now, the thing about the field is that you can't think your way to understanding the principle. It's not like you can get it intellectually. And so a lot of our work is to help people, or to lay the foundation to help people gain a realization into the principles, an insight. And again, it's a resource we don't make use of a lot, that we can learn, we can gain knowledge through what we call a realization or an insight. Honestly, knowledge that's beyond the intellect. And that's a wonderful thing to realize and to understand about us as human beings. And that's how our understanding of the principles will occur to us. It'll be a realization, but that realization will shift us. It will change. It'll come your way. It'll come your client's way. They'll have different words than you about what they've seen about the principles. But you want to keep pointing people to the spiritual. See, that's what I think Sydney Banks was talking about. You want to help them move away from the innocent learning we've been involved in since birth to look outside of ourselves for the reasons we have these particular emotions today, or this thinking, or we're acting this way, to the true source of why we have our experience. And the piece about it is it has to come via a realization. And that's why I talk to Three Principles practitioners about being really comfortable about what you have realized and to talk from there. Not be insecure about what you've realized or wait till you see more. Because what you've realized comes from that source. And when you talk from what you've realized, you're talking from that source. And that's what impacts people. As I'm talking to you today, I'm not talking to you from my intellect. I'm trying not to. And I think that's where the impact comes for people. And just as an aside, I made a short video about this point about teaching what you know and being comfortable with that. If you'd like that, just connect with Max or with me on my email. I'll send it to you. But the point is, first point here today is, all experience comes from the principle. You are a part of this intelligence that is before the universe, that brings life to the universe. And thought is the vehicle that allows us to know life, to experience life. You know, my first realization, I saw this. I had a deep realization that, we make up our emotions, but I didn't mean make them up in a fake way. I mean, emotions are created from within through thought, see? And it came to me as we make up emotions. And prior to that, as a traditionally trained psychologist, I had been immersed in, many, many explanations of emotions. And all of them were a result of something outside of me causing that. My life, my job, any traffic, anything like that. Excuse me. But then this realization corrected me to really the scientific truth of why we experience our life or where our emotions come from. And that one particular realization helps people. And I wanted to share another piece here because um, in the last couple of years, I've had the beautiful experience of meeting a lot of you in the UK and in the United States and North America. And through a number of programs I became involved in. And I want you to see that what we're talking about with the principles, we're not talking about your thinking. We're not talking about if you have a certain kind of thinking, then you're connected to mind. It's not like that. If like I've heard some people say, just out of confusion, no problem, that personal thought is the intellect, and impersonal thought you're connected to mind. So I just want to share a bit about that because that's not really the case. See, you're always connected to the principles. You are mind. There's no way you get away from that, really. You are. And that's really the beauty of why the principles help us so much because we are all the same. We're all connected to one another. So there isn't any form you make that isn't coming from mind and thought and consciousness. There's no way. So all of your thinking is really the manifestation of this energy in different ways. See, just different forms. And if you look around the planet in physical form, you see such a variety of this energy being manifested in physical form. Well, it's also manifested psychologically through all the forms of thinking we can come up with. So there isn't, you don't want to go into the products of the principles to try to understand them. You want to see that any thinking that you do is a result of the principles in action that moment for you. And that's all you need to know. You don't need to even go into what kind of thinking you're doing. You don't need that. You just, again, need to come back to your realization of where that thinking comes from. So you don't really want to get caught up in qualities of thinking in the sense of what they mean. It doesn't matter. All you want to see is, oh man, there I go again. Look what I created today, or look what I just engaged in. That's how you want to look at it. You don't want to start to pick apart your different forms of thinking because it'll get you out into the form a bit. No matter what you do, you think out there, it'll get you out into the form, and you're lost. Me too. Me too. I get into, oh man, where did that thought come from? What's going on in me? Oh man, there must be something. What am I missing? All of a sudden, here I am, huh? Here I am into worry, So I'm out. I'm caught. But the realization of the principles occurs. It comes to me again, and it corrects me. See, it's a beautiful thing to have some realization of these principles because you never lose them. You never lose that realization. It's very powerful. So you may stray from it, huh? You may have a day where you're troubled and you're caught up in your old habits. You stray, but it will come to you. You'll wake up again to the fact that, oh my God, this is just thought. See, and once you wake up to that, you can correct. And it's very powerful. It's very powerful. So I'm going to tell a story about this. When I talk about it in story form, I use personal stories. It's just what fits, And other people use metaphors just in a great way. I can't do that. I'm not good at metaphors. But I want to tell you a story. I don't want you to think about me in the story. I want you to see if you can see the point. I just want to share with you how the realization, once you have it, is there for you. You won't stray. I mean, you won't lose it. You'll stray, but you won't lose it. So I ran a program for this huge medical center in Northern California, one of their medical centers. They have several. And I ran a program, and we always met as a team once a week. And we were in this meeting, and this a colleague of mine in the team who was like my right-hand person, I had to make some changes in the team, so I was already a little nervous. I was already thinking a bit insecure about how they would take the changes, and so, oh my God, I just went out.
What do you mean?
Can you see me?
I can see you, yeah.
Oh, good,
Yeah.
because my screen just went blank. So I'm not going to touch anything. I'm just going to continue then, okay?
Is it your entire screen or just the
whole,
WebEx?
the WebEx picture left. I'm at the beginning of WebEx.
I'll try to turn you off and turn you back on. And see if
Can you still see me? Am I okay?
Yeah, you're great.
Okay, I'm just going to go with that then, okay?
Okay.
So what happened is I started presenting a point, and she really presented this point. It was really opposite what I said, and I got angry. I took it personal, and I was sharp with her. I could see right after I did that I hurt her feelings, but I was such in that reality, I was such in the reality created by my thinking, I couldn't find a way out. So I tried to do damage control through the rest of the meeting, but I knew it wasn't doing any good, okay? And I didn't know what to do. So when we left the meeting, okay, so I strayed from my understanding of the principle. That's all I mean by it, And I'm walking back to my office, and all of a sudden I get from the intelligence of mind, from my wisdom, I remember, man, you just went south with your thinking. Okay, so the realization comes back. Then I get corrective mechanisms. I get new thoughts. I get thought like it says, why don't you go apologize to her, tell her what went on, and get the relationship corrected. That's what came to me. So I went and knocked on her door, and I sat and talked with her and told her what happened and said I was sorry for the way I was, and the feeling came back. The feeling came back. We were fine. And what was interesting about this is that she told me during the conversation that she's a person that had this belief that she can't forgive anyone unless they apologize. Isn't that something? But anyhow, the only thing about the story really is to share with you this point that once you have a realization of the principles, it's not lost. You stray from your understanding because you're creating many different kinds of thinking, and you engage it, and then you're in that for a while, but it will be there. These principles and the intelligence that is mine is really there to assist you. I heard Sydney Banks talk about that in a tape I was listening to last month, and it's a beautiful point that we're assisted. Anyhow, I shared that story a couple of weekends ago when I did an event, a Saturday event called the Happiness Factor. And part of what I shared with them is, you don't read that in a book on management styles. You don't find in a book, go apologize to your colleague and tell them you got caught up in your thinking and that's all that happened. That was the wisdom of what is available to us as we point ourselves toward the spiritual, away from the form of our thinking, away from thinking it's all in our brain. away from thinking our emotions really have a life of their own. And we back off that into the spiritual nature of what we are through the realization of the principles, and there we are, the ship is righted again. We get our bearings back. Not only that, but we get assistance, we get new thought, we get ways to take care of that situation. I bet in your lives you can see that. I see couples a lot, and last night, this wife just told me how she saw it, that she'd been hearing me talk about the nature of thought and how the way she's thinking about her husband is what's, making her get worked up and frustrated and all of that, And last night she said it finally dawned on me, and I can see it. I can see that the way I look at him through my thinking, this is what she said, is what's creating my feelings. And this past week I have been looking at him differently. So the realization comes, and now she gets a new way of thinking. She called it looking at him. So I just wanted to share that with you, because anything we would call our experience of our lives moment to moment is being created from these principles: mind, thought, and consciousness. And that's where the wisdom lies. That's where the intelligence lies. All the ideas about how to share this with people, like gaining rapport and listening, really serves serves your way of being able to help someone gain that realization into the principle. Mind, the intelligence in the universe, and thought being what creates experience, the reality we live in. Consciousness, what makes us aware of that. For a long time, understanding the principles for me was difficult. I had heard the nature of thought before the principles were actually presented, and I had heard Sidney talking. He wasn't talking the principles, and I got this realization about the nature of thought. And then around 1985, at a seminar in Berkeley, he and George Pransky together presented the principles, and I didn't know what they were saying. See, I thought I knew them, I thought I knew it, and I realized, man, I don't really get this, and I had to really drop what I thought I knew and go really to the unknown and be comfortable there. Be comfortable with the mystery of it, and not try to work at getting something. I had to learn this. So I kept listening to Sydney Banks, and I kept reading, and my understanding evolved because I taught it a lot. So that helps a lot to teach it a lot, because you learn a lot from that. But in any case, what I want to share with you is Sydney Banks would sometimes share some very practical points that helped me. And one of the points he shared about the principles is that they are love and understanding. That the energy of the principles, this is what I took from it, is love and understanding. And it helped me a great deal to hear that, because I knew what that was. I knew how to get there. And I knew that feeling. And so I can direct myself to that feeling. And when he mentioned that, it really helped boost my understanding of these principles. And it really is love and understanding. I mean, that's really the feeling of it, this pure non-judgmental. You're just kind of an ordinary person. You know, it frees you of many of the thinking we've learned to get into that gets us into a reality that troubles us, that makes it look like we have problems. You know, greed, envy, judgment, having opinions of other people, fault finding, all those things that, you know, we kind of innocently have to do to navigate our lives and relate with other people. So when he would share with the principals, you know, at a very high level, and I'd get a feeling from that, I really would. And but when you would say, you know, it's love and understanding, that really helped me. Because, you know, in a way, when you really get a realization, it really comes from the fact that you're connected to mind. And when you find that realization with other people, you see your connection to other people, and that helps you. I, again, working at this medical center, again, I was running this program, and the boss I had, to me, I would see through thought to be afraid of her, to get insecure around her. I saw her as a person who created a lot of fear in the staff, you see. And I lived like that. So when I went to meetings with her, I was extremely nervous. You could see here, all of the effects of the principles. When I saw her as someone who was going to call me on the carpet and somebody, and I'd be insecure, you could see then that I'd be feeling nervous and unsure of myself and actually sweating, you know. So you can see how the principles bring to life this thinking. Anyhow, I'm in a staff meeting, and she's her usual self, and yet, and you know, and I've been listening to the principles and deepening my understanding of the principles for a few years now. And all of a sudden, I had a realization about the humanness of her, the humanness of us. That, you know, I realized, you know, she must be insecure to act this way. Because as Sid was saying, you know, when people are in negative behavior, it's just a sign that they're caught up in insecure thinking. And I saw that as a truth. You know, that's another thing about a realization of the principles. It comes to you as a truth. You can't be swayed from it by anybody. See, that's why I'm going to digress a little bit here. Sorry, I told you it was going to be a smooth ride today. I'll get back to the story. But here's another beautiful point about teaching. See, once you have a realization, you have it. No one's going to budge you, including your clients. They, whatever arguments they come up with, they cannot change a realization about these principles. No way. It's true. It's truth. You know it solid. But this helps you a great deal, because if you just share what you know and then you dialogue it with your clients, you're not going to be swayed, but you're not going to get whatever they say is not going to knock you off of your footing. If it does, you just come back to your footing. See, so whatever you've seen now is your footing. So I still get a bit away from my footing in sessions with people, but I regroup back to my footing. Once I get back there, then we start again. So many times with clients, I'll say, oh, you know what? We're kind of getting away from what I know here, or, you know, we're just going beyond the point. Do you mind if we go back to the point? They usually will say, no, go ahead. So we go back and say, here's really what I was trying to say with you. So I go back, regroup to my realization for that moment, and then we go again. So I want you to see that when you have these realizations of the principles, that's why I want to support you to share it, because no one's going to knock you off that footing. You'll never doubt it. You can't doubt what you realize when you realize truth. Other people may doubt it. Well, that's why you dialogue with them. See? That's why you inquire. Well, what did you hear? So all of that serves you to find a better way to share what you realize. It's a big point to see, because I don't want you to be insecure to not share what you've seen. The other piece about it that's so wonderful is that once you start talking about what you've seen, more will occur to you. You'll learn more. You'll just see more and more and more. Okay, so let's get back to the story. I just wanted to share that with you because I've just heard so many people who have seen a really good, had really wonderful realizations about the principles, holding themselves back because they don't think they know enough. And you know, there's so much out there now to see people teaching the principles that, man, you can easily compare yourself to them and think, oh man, I can't say it that like they do. I watch some people on Three Principles movies and I think the same thing. I think, oh my God, they say it a lot better than I do. So you want to be careful about that, and you don't want to, you want to see that whatever you realize, you got it. And so the work is just to be with people in dialogue, to find a way to keep saying it to them in a better way where they can hear you. Okay, so I'm in that meeting and it occurs to me, oh man, she's just insecure. And it shifted me. That realization changed me. And I felt a deep love and understanding. I felt an understanding that we are all creating life through the principles. We are all the same. And when we create insecure thinking, we're not on our best with people. So I changed right there in the meeting. I dropped all opinions and judgments about it, see? Now, we're walking from the meeting to the main part of the clinic, and here comes new thought. Here comes the wisdom helping me. I didn't ask for it. I wasn't looking for it. It was enough that I had this realization. I was doing fine. I was in a nice feeling state. But more came, and it came to me like, you've got to go talk to her. And what also came was how I was responsible for some of the way she reacted to me, in that I was very protective of my program. So I acted in ways that she may have thought didn't support her. You see? So here's a wonderful thing about it. In the beauty of understanding the principles and having a realization, seeing our own stuff, our blind spots, is nothing. It's not like you have to really work at it, huh? It's not. It just occurs to you in a very easy way that you can understand this, and it doesn't mean anything anymore. It's not like, there's something wrong with you for not seeing this, or you need to take responsibility. It just occurred to me that I need to see my part in it. So it led me to, again, ask her if I could talk with her, and she said sure. And so I told her, I said, you know what, I just realized that I may not have been showing you that I support you like I really feel like I do want to support you. And, I told her, I'm protective of my program, but I don't mean to not support you. I really want to support your vision for the clinic. And I want us to get along better. And it was all from that feeling. And So she said, well, you know what? I want the same thing, Mark. She was in that feeling immediately. And we had the best working relationship. We became friends. She came to many Three Principles seminars because she just was so impacted by my change. She wanted to know what it was, what brought that about. So I took a long time with that story, but I just, again, the point really is not so much the story as it is what you are, what's available to you. Why Sydney Banks wanted me to tell these psychologists who are helping people feel better why it's spiritual, why the human experience comes from the spiritual. Because once you realize that truth, it corrects you. It allows you to live life closer to happiness and well-being in love and understanding. And not only that, though, it's the truth of the matter. It's like a scientific law, Psychology is looking for law. This is the law. It covers all human experience. The simple fact that we create our reality moment to moment through thought and consciousness. That we think. And when we engage that thinking, that's what we live in. That simple fact covers every human experience. So the job is pretty simple in that's all we've got to help people realize. We earn our money by finding a way to help this person see it. That's where the work comes from. How we use our listening, how we stay centered, how we keep a dialogue going with people. Well, that's what I wanted to cover with you today. I wanted you to see if it was helpful to point you to the fact that all human experience comes from spiritual energy, comes from the formless energy that is mind, thought, and consciousness. And how every moment it's manifested, that formless is manifested, in my words, through the vehicle of thought into an experience. And I want to help people move from looking into the form of what is being manifested back toward what does the manifesting, what does the creating. And that's it. That takes care of it. Let me check in with you all. And, Max, help me here too. If there's any comments or questions, I'd love to dialogue now with you for the rest of the time. And again, feel free. I would really love to hear from you. Let's see what we can come to together.
All right. Well, I'm taking a look at our list here. Looks like Linda has a question. She raised her hand. So, hey, Linda, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can, but it's my partner, Anko, who has to ask the first question. And if I may ask a question as well, that would be lovely. But if there's somebody else, of course. Anko, it's up to you.
Hello, nice to be on the call. Thank you. My question was actually on the references, Mark, you make to the form and the formless.
Yes.
It's a bit of a mystery. I don't really have, if you say an apple or a fruit or something, you can point to it. Is it something you can't point to? Is it some sort of basically a name to something that you can't even how do you say pinpoint in time and space, or what is that formless? Can you explain a bit more about that?
Oh, that's wonderful, because it's just another way of talking about. It's just another way of trying to talk about the spiritual nature of these principles that you cannot pinpoint. Sydney Banks says that they are before space and time. I'm still reflecting on what that means, but what that means to me is that you really can't go find them. That's why you can only realize them for yourself. Now, you're not separate from them. You are them. But you can't go find that in the physical plane. You must realize the knowledge you hold that's spiritual. Now, what helped me here, here's what helped me. And I think you'll hear it on the Long Beach lectures by Sydney Banks. They're on CD. But in there, he says, it's a mystery. How thought forms is a mystery. And he says you just have to live with the mystery. You have to come to peace with it being a mystery. But the beauty of it is we can realize the formless. It's just formless energy, and it's like a mystery. I mean, you're not going to figure that out. You can't pinpoint it. You can't. So it's just a way of saying we are that energy, and then we bring to form in the physical plane thoughts and behaviors and emotions. That's the physical plane. That's the form. That's the form. Now, we're not separate. It's not a separate thing. Altogether that happens, but we happen to be physical. So that's what I mean by form. That's what I mean by form. What I mean by form is the thinking you do, the feelings you have, the behavior you're in. That's the form of the principles. That's the form they take. Mm-hmm. But it's a mystery, okay? It's a mystery. And so these are my words. This is how I took it. You just want to get comfortable and relax about it being a mystery. And live your life. See, that's the other piece, is like, live your life and not try to figure this out, and you'll get a realization. And I hope that helps.
Yeah, thanks very much. It basically tells me also that you don't worry about it. It's something you can't define. It's not in time and space.
That's right.
It's something that's not manifested yet. Something that's not there. So basically, you have to accept that it comes from somewhere. The thoughts, the behavior, or whatever that is that we see and touch, and that it's coming from the formless. So it's something, I find it hard to accept something that's not explainable. It's something
join. I mean, yes, it's. I want to give room for other questions, but I just want to share one more thing.
Okay.
I want to share one more thing. You are the spiritual energy. You are the spiritual energy. It's in your consciousness. The trouble is we cannot see consciousness. We can't think our way to understanding these principles. However, we can realize them. So you relax about thinking about what they're about, and you just keep yourself listening to the principle. You just listen, and you read Sydney Banks' books, and you realize. Mm-hmm. I one time was trying to push Sydney Banks to tell me more, and he said, quit doing that. Just live your life. And I was disappointed, but I thought he gave me a lot of good advice there, which is just live your life and you will see more. But don't keep trying to get it. Okay, so if you'd like to talk more, email me and I'll help. I'd just like to go on to another question.
Thank you very much.
Okay. It looks like we have Daniel Martinez has a question. Daniel?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hi, Daniel.
Hello, Mark. So I think that the answer to the last question might be similar to what I was going to ask. And I'm just going to go ahead and ask it and see where it goes, which is, I understand the kind of the fundamental aspects of the principles, and at a certain level, I understand what you mean by, or what it's meant by, when it's said that the principles are spiritual in their structure and their design. They're spiritual by nature. The question that I have is, again, everybody points to, and yourself included, points to the idea that talk from what you know, talk from what you understand.
Yeah.
And if I was to talk to somebody, say, you know, a family member or a client or someone that's interested in learning more about this, about the fact that it's spiritual, I wouldn't even know where to begin to talk about that.
That's right.
I mean, I can talk about thought, I can talk about mind, I can talk about consciousness. I'm comfortable speaking about those. I feel like I have a certain level of understanding about them. But the idea of speaking about them being spiritual, more than saying that, I wouldn't even know what else to say.
Yeah. Daniel, thank you so much. Again, it's wonderful, because today, in my pointing to this, was to be of service to you all. And it was to be of service to you all to see if there was a way in my conversation we could point deeper for you all, for you. And, you know, just like when Sydney Banks told me, tell them it's spiritual, I didn't know what that meant. I couldn't do it. I had to reflect on it for, 3 weeks or so to know exactly what I could pull off on that. And I'm still reflecting on what that means. You see, you never really get that completely. I think this is just me talking, but so today was for you to see if it helped at all in your deepening feeling for the principle, just a feeling for them, to try to help you see it's pointing people to the principles, not to the manifestation of the principles. So I didn't expect that you would, in the after the webinar, start teaching about the spiritual nature of the principles. But here's what I would suggest to you, Daniel. I wouldn't at all try to speak about the spiritual nature. I would speak about what you know. And if you can help people know thought, the power of thought, that is such a wonderful thing. And then that's what I do. That's what you do. You just speak from there. But what you want to do on your own is stay reflective to, well, what is this spiritual nature? See, for yourself. See, when I first heard this, I didn't have the principles. I just had thought-created feelings. Honestly, that's all I saw. But that was very powerful. That's all I talked about with people. That's all I did was talk about that. I didn't even know mind or consciousness. I didn't know this, you see. I didn't know it. And, but I knew thought, and the depth at which I knew, the realization I had about thought carried me. And then over the years, with continuing to, listen to Sydney Banks teach the principles, talk about them, and continue to teach them myself, my understanding deepened. So if you're comfortable with consciousness and thought and mind, that's what you talk to people about. And then what's going to come to you is you'll just see more and more and more. So don't go trying to, even if you look at the Three Principles movies or you listen to a Sydney Banks tape and you hear something, don't try to teach something you don't know yet about these principles. Teach what you know, and that's all I'm saying. Today, I just wanted to be of service to everybody that was on the call and to help you maybe get another feeling for what we are, what we've got going for us. what's there behind the scenes, operating moment to moment, and to kind of maybe get comfortable with the fact that you can't really see it or think your way through it. So that was for all of you. But Daniel, I think if you feel comfortable, I would share what you're comfortable with. That's what I did. The first day back to the clinic, I had 7 hours with people. I say this in other videos and so forth, but and all I knew was thought creates your feelings. That's all I knew, and I could not do all the other approaches I had worked with people with. I knew those a lot, but it didn't make sense to do that anymore. But Daniel, you must be experiencing this too. When I talked to there, people really started to get something, and I started to see more. So I hope that's helpful to you, Dan.
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other comments or questions?
Looks like we have a question from Tony. Tony, are you there?
Hello, can you hear?
Yes. Hi, Tony.
Oh, hey, Mark. I had a comment on the last two people were talking. The uncomfortableness that we all feel when we talk about the spiritual, we want to see what has no form. And that's been plaguing us since we've been on the planet. So to get comfortable with what can't be seen is like selling a box of nothing. And that's where we feel uncomfortable when we walk out into the unknown. And there's no way to get comfortable except to let go of that uncomfortableness that we know. You're speaking from what you realize, but you can't see it. You can't touch it, but we feel it. And that's how we know it, is because of the feeling attached to it.
Yeah, that's true. There's a feeling to realization. Sydney Banks always says, look for a feeling. Don't look for getting to know these principles. Look for a feeling that tells you you're onto something. Because because this knowledge, if you just point yourself to what you have realized about how these principles create a reality you live in, that's plenty. That's plenty. And it's really through the feeling you get, you'll start to see more. Now, here's another piece that's so important and valuable around the process of sharing these principles, and that is being comfortable at a point where there might be a little moment of not knowing where you're going to go next, and letting the intelligence that you are guide you, rather than thinking about it. But it's really in the feeling, and all today. I just wanted today to just be something that would be there for you to reflect on, and to share with you again. It's not something that even for me, that was not something that I could see. But I realized through the years of listening to the principles, I realized I still don't see this. I still don't see spiritual energy, But I've had realizations that have taken me to a higher level of understanding, a higher level of living, and I just know that it's within me. I am that. And so I just stay reflective. By reflective, I mean, oh man, that I see something there. I don't know quite what it is. So let me just put it on the back burner and see what comes of it. See, or maybe I'll read Sydney Banks' book and see what happens there. So I'm reflective rather than active.
I got it. One of the other things that may be helpful, it's been for me, is just to notice the ordinariness of living in the moment. It's not some wild excitement or, down the dumps. It's just life. And just being in that moment with people is what allows the feeling to happen or not happen. And we flake out of it and we come back into it. But noticing it in the moment when you're with someone is where the power has been for me.
Yeah.
If I see it in my head, doesn't do anything for me. If I am just there with someone, being me and being them and being safe being that way with each other, then the trust forms between two people and neat stuff happens. You can't make it happen. It just happens if you're willing to be present with somebody in that moment.
Yeah, very much so. And, you reminded me of another thing in which Sydney Banks says a lot that was very practical for me. It helped me a great deal. And, he said, just be ordinary. And if you really look at that, it really quiets down the ego in a way, it really does quiet down. And being with someone, just being human to human, just your ordinary self, not having to do anything with it, is very powerful. And it creates a rapport. And in that rapport and connection, if you're there to share the principles, you'll be assisted. You really will. You'll be assisted by the wisdom, the intelligence of one that you are. See? If you're there trying to be something, you won't hear that. But if you're there ordinary, and that you don't know anything more than somebody else, and you're there human to human, heart to heart, the wonderful thing about that is you'll be assisted in whatever it is you're there to do. And that's the thing that helped relax me as well, is that I don't have to figure things out anymore. So, in the work of, even in relationships, you be ordinary in relationships and you listen and you be human to human in relationships, you'll be assisted in terms of what to say next or where to go with someone or how to be or what to share. Just like I was with my colleague in Kaiser, I was assisted around how to take care of that relationship. Well, I hope this was helpful to everyone. I really enjoyed being able to share this with you. And again, I just want to be of support to all of you who are wanting to understand more about the principles and are out there sharing that understanding with other people. So thanks a lot for being here and being attentive, and hope we talk again.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mark.
So anything more, Max, before wrapping it up?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, then. Well, I wanted to say goodbye to everyone, and thanks again. And hope we talk again.
Okay. Thanks so much, Mark. Have a great day.
Okay, Max, you too. Bye.